Hi, I'm Anthony Attanasio, your host for TransAction TV. I'm the CEO of Hawk Strategies, and I'm here today with my good friend Kris Kolluri, who is the president and CEO of the New Jersey Transit Corporation. Kris, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
It's very good to have you.
Thank you.
So we have some late-breaking news. When you took this position on, you knew as a former commissioner of transportation that it's very challenging to run New Jersey Transit. 900,000 passenger trips a day, right? All the modes that you operate. And then you have, is it 27 labor contracts or almost 30 labor contracts to manage? And then as of yesterday, we learned that the engineers have rejected the offer that New Jersey Transit made them, which could create a very significant operational struggle in May. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are with that and what you're doing?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me, Anthony.
Of course.
It's great to be at TransAction. This is my 25th year, on and off, coming to this wonderful conference. But look, let me reframe the question just a little bit.
Please.
It wasn't just our offer; it was an agreement that we came together.
Okay.
BLET and New Jersey Transit came to an agreement that we thought and they thought was fair.
Okay.
That was fair to them and to the taxpayers. Look, 372 BLET members thought it was not good enough for them, and then they rejected it. So my view is I'm disappointed, but I will not give up on going back to the bargaining table. I've made it clear to the general chairman I intend to do just that, and we have 30 days to find a different package, if you will,
Right.
to get to a deal. Ultimately, we move 350,000 people a day on our system. Trips are different, obviously, right? 372 people cannot disrupt the lives of 350,000 residents
Amen
of
to
New
that.
Jersey. And so what I've said to them is I'm always open to a discussion and a negotiation, but what cannot be an option, even though it's their right, is to unduly disrupt the lives of residents of New Jersey who are merely trying to go about their life to get to their jobs and to their family. So we have an obligation, and so my offer still stands. They've accepted an offer to come and meet me again, and I intend to do just that.
Well, I think we're very fortunate in New Jersey to have you at the head of the agency right now because of your past experience as commissioner and in various roles, because we need a calm and level head because, to your point, this is not an option for our commuters. It is not an option for our state, for our businesses, for our universities to have our mass transit system shut down. And the reality is I want to ask you to transition a little bit into the financial outlook of the agency, because there's a reality, and I'll editorialize for a minute, that New Jersey Transit has never received the proper operating subsidy it needs to operate. It's led to things like capital operating transfers and other issues that we've all tried to combat, but you are not a robustly funded agency with money falling out of the ceiling. So there's a reality to these negotiations too. You can ask for things, but there has to be a reality and a compromise.
Well, look, I think you're exactly right, Anthony. For me, the business community, and you as a small business owner will be a contributor one way or the other to this. The business community has chipped in through our corporate transit fees, $815 million to fund the operating budget of New Jersey Transit. I know it was not an easy decision for the governor.
Right.
It wasn't an easy decision for the legislature or the businesses. But there is no point in getting that kind of hard-earned money into the door to turn around and essentially give away hundreds of millions of dollars for a wage increase. That is not rational in any world that we live in right now. The volatility in the marketplace is so uncontrolled,
Right.
that there is a fact out there that there's a 35% chance of a recession. SEPTA is already saying they're going to cut 45% of the service and increase the fare increase by 20%. So the realities that we have to face is the reality that the unions should also face.
Agreed.
And that's the point that I've tried to make to them. Nobody's trying to be unfair,
Right.
but we also have to be realistic.
We're all in this together.
That's right.
Right. And hopefully that's not going to be the case. Hopefully calmer heads prevail. So what's interesting is that when you took this position, which on behalf of the industries in the state, we were very grateful that you did, you gave a 13-month commitment to finish out this administration, support Governor Murphy, who has been great to the transportation community. Tell us what let's get past the late breaking news
Yep.
and get to your vision and focus. What are the top 3 things you were hoping to do and still hope to do as the president and CEO?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, it comes down to, for me, the foundational issues are customer service and reliability, making sure we have rolling stock that is modernized, which the governor is committed to, and before the end of his term, we will have instituted a path forward to modernize the entire fleet of buses and trains by 2031.
That's fantastic.
And then the last thing is, as you correctly said, was the financial stability of the organization. I have no intention, regardless whether it's a Democratic governor or Republican governor next year, to leave them with anything other than a roadmap that is sound in its planning and its execution. That is the obligation I take very seriously. The reason I took this job, and I'm so privileged to have this job, is I think it is very important to see the job through that the governor started 7 years ago.
Right.
And I wanted to be an oar in the water, if you will, to make sure we get to the finish line in a way that is thoughtful and that is responsible. That is what we owe this governor, our riders, and the next governor.
It's fantastic. And that's the leadership model you brought from your previous roles, but most recently at the Gateway Development Commission, where you oversaw the successful attainment of a full funding grant agreement for what is the most significant public works project in the country. So, that's a great mission to have, and I know the current and future chief executives will appreciate that from you. We talked about finances a little bit, the corporate business tax. Where do you see the financial outlook going forward, and how do you see your role in shaping that?
Look, I mean, the commitment that the business community wanted, rightfully so, was to make sure all the money that is generated from the corporate transit fee goes to New Jersey Transit. The governor committed to that, and if you see in our budget, $815 million is what will get generated in corporate transit fees, and that is what we will deliver to New Jersey Transit. The governor's kept his commitment. This is a 4 to 5 year plan.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest unknown, Anthony, is what happens if there's a recession.
Yes.
And what happens to the source of the funding.
Sure.
And that is a real question that a lot of people are thinking about.
Yes.
And that is something that we have to think about. I want to just add one layer that I think it's important for your viewers and, frankly, the legislature to know. We were not just saying thank you for the $815 million. I thought the governor and my obligation was to produce $100 million in savings, which we have done. By the time the budget is introduced, we will produce over the next fiscal year $100 million in savings and revenues. That is the right way to run this business, because we also have to show the legislature and our riding public that we are not just about taking the money,
Yes.
but we're also using the money efficiently.
Spending it better. Yeah,
That's right.
Absolutely. And that's very encouraging to hear, as everyone at home, I'm sure, agrees. So speaking of better service and addressing things, so last summer, there was obviously a lot of service disruptions. I was pleasantly surprised to see that folks like the congressional delegation and others come to New Jersey Transit's aid, because basically you are a renter on the Northeast Corridor, right? A lot of these issues stemmed from your landlord, Amtrak. And a lot of discussions were had, collaborative meetings were had, and a lot of commitments were made. So can you talk about, has Amtrak met their commitments to you as the steward of the line, and then also what New Jersey Transit has done to try to meet them?
Absolutely. It is one of the most important components of what we're working on. Yesterday, the governor convened a meeting with Amtrak and New Jersey Transit. This is his third such meeting since the last summer, to make sure that the repairs that Amtrak is committed to are happening,
Right.
and the preparation that we've committed to is also happening. So there's a couple of areas of interest and focus. One is Amtrak has already made repairs to over 10,000 component parts on the Northeast Corridor from Trenton to Penn Station, which is important.
So mostly like catenary and signals.
Catenary, signal systems, tracks, so on and so forth. Equally important, they've asked for 12 weeks of outage from New Jersey Transit to make sure they make the necessary catenary improvements between now and June 1, which is also important. We have, on our side, understand that it's not just about infrastructure, it's also about mechanical issues. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure we do preventive inspection and maintenance of some of our equipment to make sure that those particular parts that are susceptible to heat are inspected and we do preventive maintenance. The last thing I'll say is we also asked for, and Amtrak has agreed, to allow New Jersey Transit to have a senior level person in the control center
Okay.
to make sure that we can focus on time performance for both railroads.
Right.
This is not a zero-sum game. One doesn't have to win so the other loses.
Right.
We both can win if we can manage the system right. And I was so pleased that between Tony Kosha, Roger Harris, the president, the governor, and myself, we were able to come to an agreement that moves the ball forward. This doesn't mean that there won't be problems.
Sure.
But the question is, are we going to respond better to it? And I think that you'll see it improve.
It's fantastic. Thank you for that update. So last question I have for you, as a good Italian, World Cup's coming around. We love our soccer. The United States has been a little slower than the rest of the world, but there's a lot of excitement around FIFA coming into our region. So this year we have the FIFA Club Cup coming, which is kind of like a warm-up event for the big one, right? We've got the 2026 FIFA World Cup coming to New Jersey, and the final will be at MetLife Stadium. And just recently, the host committee announced that they are not going to allow any parking at the stadium in 2026, just to be clear for our viewers. Wow, that's going to be quite an unprecedented new volume of riders to your system. What's going on? What's the planning look like, and how are you doing?
So I'm focused on 2025 and 2026. 2025 is going to be more like a regular Taylor Swift or an Ed Sheeran concert, where the levels of traffic and fans will be equal to that. And we think certainly the semifinals and finals, and maybe even quarterfinals, will all be at that level. So we're able to move about 15,000 fans an hour today. And I think we can do that effectively. And there's also the parking that you talked about for this year. For 2026, we are building a deployable bus terminal at the site. So we will then be able to, between train and bus, be able to move 20,000 fans an hour. The one difference between a Taylor Swift concert and perhaps a football game is FIFA is also thinking about having a fan experience outside after the game. So we spread out the departure. So not all 80,000 or 70,000 people are going to the trains at once. That was the experience during the Super Bowl. And we are certainly hoping that the fan experience is going to spread out the departures to give us space to get people properly boarded and get them to the destination that they want.
That's exciting. And you do. This agency has been overwhelmingly successful with WWE events and massive concerts and all the sporting events. And, together, we've worked together for many years. We do the New York Jetstream Express with you for children with autism. And so, we're taking a group of children with autism on your trains with all of the crush of those Jets fans coming too with us. And it has never been anything but smooth. So I think you've proven that you can handle the large events. The no parking will be the interesting challenge, but the after events is definitely operationally going to help, it sounds like.
It is. And by the way, it isn't just us who are going to be moving. FIFA is also committed for their VIPs and others. They'll have their own buses to move them as well. Look, an event of that size is complicated, is going to require us to make sure that we have our operational game fully on. But what I'm confident about, notwithstanding an uncontrolled weather event or something catastrophic, I think on balance, the entirety of the FIFA community, whether it's the state police, whether it's transit, whether it's the governor's office or the host committee, we're all working together to try and make sure we have a logistical plan that makes sense.
Well, once again, just the way I started, I'll finish. We're very grateful to have you back at the head of the helm because of your experience, but also your calm hand with a lot. You got a lot going on right now. So we're going to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
We want to thank you as always for your leadership and thank you for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Kris Kolluri, President and CEO of the New Jersey Transit Corporation. Thank you for joining us for this episode of TransAction TV.